session number 4 for Unleash. Tonight, we have a very special guest that I have known all my life, I believe. And so I'm super excited to have her here with me tonight. And then without further ado, I would like to introduce Miss Hope Without Dope, Robin Brown. Say hello. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I really have no complaints. It's really a blessing to be in the land of the living. Like I say, made the wake up list.
Yes, right.
And I'm excited about it.
Yes.
Yes. So, session 4 of Unleash. Of course, Unleash being a movement, I feel, for men and women. The acronym is Uprooting Negativity, Loving Exceptionally, and Shamelessly Healing. And tonight our topic is going to be life without drugs. And so I'm going to start with some statistics first. But Unleash, before I get there, Unleash is also when you come to a point in your life where you refuse to live in denial about an issue that you have to confront. And now we're taking that power back where we're choosing to say, I'm no longer going to pretend that this is my life and I'm a cookie cutter type of perfectionist. And it's not even about that. I made these mistakes. I'm going to accept the fact that I messed up, and I'm going to deal with it, and I'm going to face it head on. So that's what we're going to do tonight with Miss Robin. And so I'll start with a couple of statistics, like I said. So one of them being that 1 in 4 adults with a mental illness also have a substance abuse disorder. And we're still dealing with mental illness because it's still in honor of the month of May. Also, when an individual has both depression and addiction, it's called dual diagnosis, which can be made up of any combination of a mental disorder, example being anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, and addiction, which an example of addiction would be drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling. Okay, and dual diagnosis that include depressive disorders are among the most common forms of the problem. In fact, the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry reports that 1 in 3 adults who struggle with alcohol or drug abuse also suffers from depression. One more statistic. People with depression may experience 5 or more of the following symptoms on a daily basis. Feelings of hopelessness, anxiety, loss of appetite, weight gain, weight loss, increased appetite, sleeping too much or too little, tearfulness, aches and pain, loss of energy, feelings of guilt, a sense of worthlessness, general irritability, difficulty concentrating on daily tasks, a loss of interest in activities or hobbies, and suicidal thoughts or suicide attempts. Now, this is teaching that substance abuse and depression go hand in hand, right? So, while we're dealing with the topic for tonight, life without drugs, that would obviously imply that you have lived a life with drugs involved. So tonight, could you explain to us what attracted you to doing drugs? Where did it all begin? Since we're starting from the beginning, we're uprooting. So tell us how it all began.
Hi, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Lady V, for inviting me and having me on your panel. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
How it started with me, I come from a foster home. And I can't tell nobody that it was a lot of love in the home. It was real, a lot of abuse. And the abuse was on me, not other kids, but I took the abuse on me. I remember as a child, I felt like I was a black sheep of the family. I did not feel like I was part of them. I felt like something was wrong, but I just didn't know what it was. And I got abused with wires, switches that was tied together, pots or pans, or whatever they could get their hands on, you know. I could say that I was sick, I didn't feel good, I got beat.
Wow.
If I came home from school without no books or nothing, I got beat.
Wow.
If I didn't eat all my food, I got beat. I had, by my mother, they said my mother was an alcoholic. So when I was born, I had a problem with swallowing. I had some other issues that was going on with my body. As a baby, they didn't even know if I was going to make it. But thank God I did.
Amen.
I began to had to make a decision with myself because I couldn't take the abuse anymore. I couldn't go to school like I wanted to. If I did, I did not have the clothes to dress like other kids, so I got picked on. And that kept me behind the wall all the time because I really didn't want the kids to know exactly where I was staying or where I was coming from.
Okay, so can I ask you right quick before you continue, did you ever, just out of curiosity, ask why they were treating you a certain way? Why? Because you said you felt like the black sheep, and which would imply that the other children were being treated better than you were. But did you ever have enough courage to ask the question, why am I being mistreated more than anybody else?
Yes, I did ask Mom. I asked her, and I wondered why, but she never gave me an answer. The answer came from a neighbor.
Okay.
You know, so when I got the answer from a neighbor, that's when my journey began. And I made a decision to leave. And I was about 9 years old at that time. So when I left, that was it. I didn't see them anymore. So I didn't have to worry about the abuse anymore. Now I got to worry about how I'm going to live in the street.
Okay, so explain to us how a 9-year-old is successful at being able to, one, make the choice and the decision to say, I'm done, I'm leaving. At 9 years old, what is going through your mind at this moment of saying that I have to leave the only home that I know, I have to leave the only people that I know? Because that would have to take an extreme amount of courage and dedication alone, because you know, you're fickle at that age. Children, they forgive easily. If you're anything like my son, Jaden, the middle baby, like his forgiving heart amazes me. You can get on him about something and the next 10 minutes he's asking you want me to fix you something to eat? Like, just, so children are, you know, they easily forgive. Even in school, if you have a fallout, you know, your friends by the end of the day. So how, in the mind of your 9-year-old self, did you say that I know I'll be successful or I'll do what I have to do? What's the process? What are you thinking? What is going through your mind at this time?
At that time, the only question I asked myself, how am I going to live? At this age, how am I going to live? What am I going to do? Which way am I going to go? What I'm going to eat? You know, is anybody going to take care of me? Is anybody going to help me make a decision that I can't make for myself?
Right.
So at that time, that's when I ran up on a young lady. She was older than me. I don't really know how old she was, but I knew in my mind she was older than me, and she knew all about the streets, and she knew how to live. So it's just like when you learn a child how to walk, I had to learn how to be in the streets. I had to learn how to live in the streets. So after I got equipped to the streets real good, that's when I took off.
Okay, so explain, so now this is your neighbor that you're residing with, okay? And back up, wait, let's pause for the cause right
Okay.
quick. So let's take that back, because you are literally across the street from your foster home. And so how does that work? Like when you go outside, are you still in school? Are you still, like, how are we functioning at this point where are your foster parents feeling like it's fine, we don't care, and we'll still get a check? Like, I mean, how does that work with you being across the street?
Well, they really did. To be honest, they really didn't care because at that time, foster parents, when I was growing up, they only cared about the money. They got what they got. You either make it or you just don't make it. But you get all the kids that you can get, so you can be able to get the money. So when they might be living across the street with this other lady and trying to live, she was going to report the lady, but she did a scam. You know, she made sure that if I don't say nothing, I can still get that money.
Okay.
And that's the way she worked it. You know, because she was only getting $500 each child.
Wow, and you knew the amount.
I knew the amount, $500, and we had a Sears and Roebuck book.
Okay.
They ordered from that. That's how they got our clothes. But I didn't get that.
You didn't get the clothes.
I didn't get the clothes.
Wow.
The lady across the street would go to like the thrift stores or in the little Roses when they had Roses and Woodward downtown. She would go there and get me something. She would bring it to me, but my mama wouldn't let me have it.
Wow.
She said she don't deserve this. I'll give it to Bessie.
Yeah.
And so Bessie got it because Bessie had long, pretty hair. I was a little black girl with nappy hair, big nose. She said I looked too much like my mama, and I didn't know if she knew how my mama looked.
Yeah.
You know, but this is the words that I could hear her say. So the time I was living across the street, I left from over there. I didn't even stay across the street, not even a month or two.
Okay, but first, before leaving across the street, because you a 9-year-old on the move,
Yes, sir.
first of all.
Yes.
But, so you said she introduced you to the street life. Now, what information were you privy to from this neighbor with the street life, teaching you the street life, teaching you the ins and outs of it? What did she instill in you? What knowledge did she provide?
She had let me know not to let nobody use me.
Okay.
She said, make sure that when someone talks to you, you look straight at them. But you give them that look of like, I know what you're talking about. I ain't no dummy. And I got this.
Okay.
You know. So she kind of taught me some of the tough stuff. So I had to learn quick.
Okay.
If I didn't, I would have died in the streets.
Gotcha. So where did the introduction to drugs come from? Was it her or there was someone else involved?
It was her.
Okay.
It was her. She took me to a house that was on Elizabeth Street here in Durham.
Woo!
Yes, I remember all that. She took me to, yes, it was the hood.
Still is.
Yes. And the house was like, you could not go in the house.
Okay.
It was a board on the outside. You knock on it, was a certain knock that you had to have. The man would open and he was like, okay, what's up? And she would introduce herself, she would introduce me, and the man would say, okay, you can't let you in, but I can give you what you want. The first thing that she got was pills.
Okay, what kind of pills?
It was speed.
Okay.
It was speed. She got me speed. I tried it. And I liked it because it gave me that feeling of, I don't care what happens. I'm okay with me right now. Whatever, I'm going to follow whoever comes along. I didn't have that responsibility of, okay, that's wrong. I wasn't held accountable for nothing. You know, so I just went on with it. And after the pills, it was like, okay, I got dead to the pills. I didn't really want no pills no more.
So you're still 9 years old at this time?
I'm going on about 9 or 10. I'm going on 10 now.
So you're getting ready to turn 10 years old, but you've already started taking drugs.
Yes.
Wow. The innocence of a child. And so was it out of your curiosity of trying it, or it was offered to you?
It was actually offered to me, and by me feeling the way I was feeling on the inside, I said, what the heck? I might as well try. Anything somebody gave me, I tried it.
Wow.
Without even questioning it. And that's how I got hooked on. I was from one drug to another. By the time I started doing dope, the real deal, I was like maybe by my 20s. That's when I got to the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because by that time reefer wasn't doing it, the pills wasn't doing it no more, and they always say you substitute one for another. So I substituted one for another.
Gotcha. So when one wears out a little bit and it's not giving you that feeling, then you move on to something harder.
Yes.
Wow. Just taking a quick moment to say hello to everyone again. Thank you all for your comments. We're excited. Make sure you like and share while we're going live about this. So I'm wondering how, like, what is going on as far as school? What is going on as like school is just out at this point? It's nothing to think about.
I tried to go to school, even though when I was doing drugs, I did try, but my mind, my brain was not allowing me to be able to learn the knowledge of what I needed to. Right. And I won't focus on nothing. I began to build up anger.
Yeah.
So I hit the teacher with a book. I hit her in the face.
Yeah.
And after I hit her in the face, I walked out. Then I ended up jumped on some girl because they said she was musty. So each little thing that somebody would say, I had so much anger in me because I couldn't figure out what I was going to do with my life.
Right.
And this was not the plan.
And not to mention that you don't even know who you are. You are, you're aimlessly walking around. You're existing, basically, and you're functioning, but you've already started out in foster care. You don't know who your mother is. You don't know who your father is. And so I can only imagine the turmoil that goes on the inside of you where you have no one to identify with. And the only person that you still to this day are calling mama is, someone who didn't love you, abused you, and didn't care about your well-being. And you're still giving her that title of mom, which is amazing to me because that's such a sacred word to me. But the fact that you are still, you haven't given up yet, but you're going with emotions right now, but you have no one to identify with.
No.
And okay, so let's talk about, now we're in your 20s, and thankfully nothing has killed you up until this point. You haven't had to have to go to the hospital for ODing or anything like that. So God is still sustaining in this process.
Yes.
Okay. So to me, that's saying, here's my testimony. God, I'm frustrated with how my life is right now. But the silver lining that I always like to look for, because I'm the glass half full type of girl, is that God, you're still keeping me for some kind of purpose. I don't know what it is, but you're still rescuing me, you're still saving me, you're still waking me up the next day, but I have no clue what I'm going to do with my life. I have no clue why you still have me here. Whew. Okay, so man, now you're in your 20s. God has kept you up until this point, and so now dope has been introduced to you. So tell us about this part of the journey.
Okay, by that time I had got me an apartment. I was on housing.
Okay.
So I experienced being on housing at an early age. And I got my first apartment. I was all excited, but I still couldn't figure out really what I wanted to do with my life. And I got introduced to this older man. He was way older than me. And I used to see him on the street and speak to him. And people, you know how if somebody know you, the word gets out.
Absolutely.
And everybody knew this man. They knew that he was a big dope dealer. And he asked me where I stayed at, what was my name, and I was freely introducing myself and freely telling him where I stayed at. So he showed up.
Wow.
So when he showed up, we went to my kitchen, because back then at that time, apartments were straight through.
Okay.
You went from the living room to the bedroom to the kitchen. That was it.
Okay.
So we in the kitchen. He had a brown bag. I can remember that bag just like it is today. He had a brown bag on him. And he said, I'm going to let you try something if you want to. And I was like, yeah, whatever you got, come on with it. You know, because at that time I was already introduced to the street. I was already a hustler, so I knew
Yeah.
the game already. So when he introduced me to the dope, he had a needle, he had the powder, and he had the bag, and he had the tie. So he did it first. And I looked at him, and do you know it's so amazing? I caught on so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Just in that.
Couldn't catch on in school.
No, but I
Caught on,
There
yeah.
you go. Couldn't catch on in school, but I caught on to that drug like fast.
Yeah.
So as soon as he got through and he shot the dope up, and I looked and I was like, well, maybe I could feel like that. Everything else is dead to me now. I can feel like that. So I went on and I said, well, let me try that. And I tried it, and that's when I got hooked.
Wow.
Just that fast.
From a stranger.
Just from a stranger. Someone I never knew.
And you know, these days you can't trust what somebody else is going to give you. You know what I mean? Because it's laced with
Yes.
whatever. And I'm not even going to act like I really, really know the street life or drugs or anything. Like, I'm really an airhead when it comes to that kind of stuff. But from what I've heard, you know what I mean? Like, they, you know, even with just smoking weed, you got to be careful because people will lace it with something that will cause you to lose your life.
That's true.
And another testament of God preserving you
Once again.
through this time.
Yes.
And let me just say here, I'm reading some of the comments, and they are, you know, they are excited that you are talking about your story and willing to unleash all of this. Like, we're putting down the shame, we're putting down the embarrassment. We're saying, God, I trade my sorrows for your joy, for your peace. And you speak with such conviction as if it's not an embarrassment anymore, which is such a blessing to me because it's not me trying to pull this out of you. And you're speaking about it from a place of, look where he bought me from.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
let's just continue with this journey. Like, I'm excited for the people you're going to reach about this, even though I can't relate to this part of the journey, but I know this is going to minister to someone else. But tell us more about now you're hooked on dope, and
yes,
like, where we go from here.
I ended up my house became everybody else's house. Anybody could come in. You can do whatever you want to do. You can be free. I was making money off people just having sex in my house. I was making money off people just selling drugs in my house.
Wow.
So people did anything they wanted to do because at that time it was about the money. I didn't care nothing about nothing else. I didn't want no man in my life at that time. I just needed the money because it was easy.
Yeah.
Anything easy, I liked it. And I ended up moving. I was about in my early 40s or early 30s. I ended up moving because I felt like, okay, I need to get a bigger place now because I'm really on the move now. I can really start selling some drugs.
Okay.
So by the time I got ready to move, the same man, he's passed now, bless his heart. He came to me, he said, do you really want a name for yourself? He said, you sure? I said, I'm positive. I can make my own name. And that's when they started calling me Foxy.
Oh.
So I made that name in the street. He gave me my first deal.
Okay.
I went from there, I went up on the block. I had like I was, tough. I had to go tough. And I would stand up on the block and I had a knife in my back. I had a pistol. So I just knew I was in there,
Wow.
Nobody could tell me nothing, And then I had to learn how to talk. So I was rough, Somebody would come up, I'm like, what you want? What you gonna do? I ain't got time. I always was a short talker, because I had to play that role.
Gotcha.
In order to live. I made so much money till I got so comfortable with myself till I allowed people to come in my house and they would ejaculate everything.
Wow.
They would do it all.
Yeah.
They could just do it on me if they wanted to.
Well, who cleaning this up though? Like, I mean,
Really nobody.
Okay.
This how bad it got.
Wow.
It got so bad that my mind wasn't nowhere but let them
The
do what they want to
money,
do.
yeah.
Give me the money. That's
Wow.
all I want. And really to get real deep with it, people were pawning their children. This is real. People were pawning their children.
Yeah.
And there's nothing good about it. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're bringing your child to me. I don't know what to do with your child but to hold them. I ain't got no food to feed them. The only thing I had in my refrigerator was a bottle of water and roaches. That's all I had. And it got to the point I was selling. I became my best buyer. And what that mean, I started buying my own stuff.
Yeah.
I sat in a wicked chair for 24 hours shooting drugs. By the time I stood up, I was weighing, before I started, I was weighing 145. When I got up, I was $1.25.
Wow.
I had got so skinny.
Yeah.
My nails had just turned brown. My skin was turning so dark. My face, I happened to look in the mirror one day at myself. It scared me, but it didn't scare me. It was like I couldn't feel nothing.
Yeah.
And I stood there and I said in my mind, is this the way I'm going to live for the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Do I really want this kind of life for the rest of my life?
Right.
Do I really want to start getting some help? How do I reach out? But I was ashamed to reach out to anybody because I didn't want people to really know where I was.
Talk about it.
I didn't want nobody to talk about me or to look at me in a different light because I was foxy.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Created a name for you.
Yeah, so I had to stand up for that name.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time people started seeing me, I had on 10 pair of pants.
Wow.
I had on 5 blouses.
Mm-hmm.
By the time my breasts were just skin.
Mm-hmm.
I go up on the block and I had on shades. I'm trying to hide. And I would get behind a building and I would do whatever you needed me to do to get that dope. And it wasn't nothing but a rock. I did that for years. When I got in my, I want to say late 40s, is when desperation really came. I was shooting some drugs. I was in my house on the floor shooting some dope in my arm. It must have been a bad batch because I was trying to make it out the door and fell at the trench of the door between the door and the screen door.
Yeah.
I fell. This guy that bought drugs from me, he wanted to keep himself anonymous. So he calls the police.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't come back.
Okay.
When I woke up, it was a month later.
Whoa.
It was a month later. They was not looking for me to leave.
Wow.
The doctor told the nurses, we can't let nobody touch her. Nobody. Because if you touch her, she'll break. My bones were so fragile. My teeth was chattering, you could move them. My eyes were so black. My skin was so dark. My hair, I had some nice hair, but it was, by the time the drugs ate it up, I had patches. So they had to end up balling me out. I was just bald-headed. By the time I woke up, I still couldn't realize what had happened. They set me up with a machine on the bed. It was like a robot machine. Mm-hmm. To make me, lean,
yeah,
to sit up, to move my arms because I couldn't move nothing on my own. Whew. I laid there and in my mind, I'm like, God, that's when I got connected. God, if you get me out of this one, I promise you, I'll never look at the world the same. And I'll never do this again. God provided for me that day. Yeah. This lady, he sent an angel. When we talk about angels, they can be human beings.
Absolutely.
This lady was a white lady. The doctor told her she couldn't come in the room. She told the doctor, she said, look, I was sent from heaven. I need to go in there. I got a Bible in my hand. I just want to lay it down beside her. He said, but we can't have nothing beside her because she can easily break.
Right.
She said, no, she's not going to break. She's going to be building.
Woo!
when that lady, I can remember just as good in my mind what the lady was doing, but I couldn't see because I was partially blind by the time Dorothy had messed my eyesight up. And I looked and I kind of rubbed my eyes over at her, and she looked at me and she said, "Baby, you ain't gonna have to worry about nothing else after this. This is gonna save your life. If you choose it, it will save your life." I can remember so good what she said to me, but I still was confused.
Right.
I still wasn't undecided.
Right.
I still didn't know what I really wanted to do. By the time, about maybe 10 or 15 minutes, the doctor came in. He showed me a picture of me. Now that's what scared me. He showed me a picture. He said, "I'm going to hang this picture on the wall, but I want you to see it."
Of how you were currently
Yeah,
living?
you were.
Wow.
He said, "I want you to see this." He was a big MD, older man. He said, "I want you to see this." He said, "After you see this, your mind should be made up. Because if you go back out there, you're doomed to die. You would not live after this. We're going to rebuild you." He said, "I don't know if you're religious, you know God or what, but you better know somebody right along now."
Right.
You know, and all I could do, tears were just running. And they could just pat. They couldn't wipe my face. They had to easily pat me.
Yeah.
And they patted my face. And the nurse came in. And I felt so bad after she said this to me. She wasn't really talking to me. She was talking to the next nurse. She said, "I don't want to touch her. She might got AIDS."
Oh, man.
But they end up fine.
Wow.
She said, "I don't want to touch her." And the nurse said, "You can't sit it. She can hear you." She said, "I don't care. She need to hear somebody." It took almost a year before that actually got rebuilt. By the time I come out the hospital, they had to learn me how to eat.
Yeah.
I did not know how to read. I did not know how to spell. I knew nothing because I had no education. By the time I come out the hospital, I made my own decision. I said, "Lord, I don't know you that good, and I'm sorry I didn't get a relationship with you because I went on my own.
Yeah.
I know about church. I did everything I thought I was supposed to be doing, but I didn't do it right. But I promise you, I would never do it again." By that time, the newscasters had came to my house, and I was sitting there, and they wanted to do a report on me.
Okay.
So when they did the report, the lady told me, she said, "Before I leave, I want to leave you with something." She said, "If people are not going to come to your house with positive, don't let them come." She said, "What I want you to do is write." She written me something on a piece of paper, letting people know, don't knock on this door.
Yeah.
Because I ain't there no more. I don't live here no more.
Cover.
Yes. And I put that on the door.
Mm-hmm.
After I put that on the door, they put me in the newspaper. And I was in the newspaper, and I looked at myself, and I'm like, wow, my cheeks were sucked in. Because remember now, I'm just being rebuilt.
Right.
So I haven't been built. I just been rebuilt.
Yeah.
You know, just trying a little at a time because I still couldn't walk that good. I was learning how to walk. One lady from the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, she came to me and she said, "I want to sponsor you." She said, "It's something about you. It's something about you, but I need to sponsor you." And she sponsored me, and I went to go back in the hospital again because I started having seizures real bad. Got in the hospital. She brought a book to me, and I was like, I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
I don't know how to read. She said, "Yes, you do. You just don't want to know how to. It's things that you can do, you're choosing not to do."
Yeah.
She said, "But in the name of Jesus, you're going to do it." This lady stuck with me, and she stuck with me. She would come to my room every day and read. And she would ask me, she said, "What's that word?" And I said, "I don't know." She said, "That's your problem. Kent never went nowhere, but Ken did."
All right.
So I'm like, okay. I said, "But I don't know." But she said, "Stop saying that." Because my vocabulary was so negative.
Yeah.
That's all I knew. So when I got into Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, I began to start learning.
And what age is this?
Now, by the time I got there, I was like in my late 40s.
Late
I
40s.
was in my late 40s.
And let me ask you this. When you talk about how you called out to God, you made a promise to Him, because we barter with God a whole lot.
Yeah.
when things get rough. And so when you tell him, if you get me out of this, I promise you I'll never touch that stuff again. The fact that you never had a relationship with him. Now, at what point were you introduced to who God is, or just church altogether? At what point in your life are you introduced to that?
I think when I was married, Everett was my sponsor.
I remember her.
So that's when I really got introduced.
Okay.
I got introduced.
So basically this is a cry for help to somebody that, because they say, you don't know Jesus until you've been through some things, right? You know of him, but you don't know him. So this is basically the scenario where you're crying out to him, where I've heard about what you can do. I don't know you for myself, but I know I can't do this anymore. So God, or whoever, if you can help me. I don't know you personally, but I know I need to call on somebody to help me through this process. So it wasn't necessarily that, you had been going to church, or, for you to even think to call on him, opposed to another person, opposed to the lady that introduced you to drugs, opposed to, reaching out to some of the friends that you made on the street. What makes you cry out to a God that you don't even know? Like, just feeling his presence, what made you say you needed him?
I think what was, after I had really got sick, and I really knew that God brought me out of that, because I knew without him I couldn't have made it.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to church with Mary. I would go to church with her, and I could hear, the pastor preaching, and and she would say, God is here all the time. He never left us. We leave him,
Yeah.
And then I got to thinking, well, maybe that's what happened with me.
Mm-hmm.
I left God. Now I want to come back,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm cured now. I'm all right now, and I know He the one that helped me.
Right.
So Mary kept me in church at the time, and then when she left me, it's like, they say you get off the milk, you got to get off sometime.
Right.
So she kicked me off the milk,
Mm-hmm.
and when she kicked me off the milk, by the time she kicked me off the milk, I was able to walk on my own.
Yeah.
I was able to really learn God and find out who he really was, who he really is. When I really got introduced, really like the really knowledge of him,
Okay.
it's when I got in the ministry of Windows of Heaven. That's when I really,
Gotcha.
that's when it really came to me like, okay, I know God now, I know you kept me the whole time. You held on to me, God.
Mm-hmm.
You knew I had a purpose, God.
Right.
I just didn't know about the purpose.
Right.
But you knew.
Right.
When I got the knowledge of getting to learn and be able to learn and listen to somebody else besides myself, then I began to build that relationship with God.
Awesome.
Through those pastors that taught me, and they kept feeding me because I was a little seed.
Yeah.
And they kept feeding me, and they still feed me today. They never stopped.
Yeah. So how is life without the dope now? How is your journey now? How do you feel?
Oh, I feel awesome. Every day isn't a good day. I'm not going to sit here and tell nobody, oh yeah, the roses are always out there.
Right.
Some days I have to fight my own way through. I have to talk to myself. And people say, as long as you don't answer yourself, you all right. Even if I answer myself, it's all right. But all I know is that life without drugs is, it is so fantastic for me.
Yeah.
I've learned so much. I've grown so much. When I couldn't see myself growing, I feel like I have really grown. I'm able to communicate. I'm able to take responsibility of paying bills. I keep a household now. I hold myself accountable for things that I do. I think before I do anything, and if I did something, I know how to apologize.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I know how to be a woman now.
Yeah.
And not a slut. We just keeping it real.
Right, absolutely.
You know, I know how to be a woman, not a slut. I don't have to allow you to lay me down on the bed and do what you want to do to me.
Yeah.
This is my body.
Right.
I own this.
Right. A temple.
Yes. And I can't let you do what you want to do to me. That ain't what God created me for.
Yes.
I thought that's what I was created for. But when I came through that road that I needed to come through, I found out at the end that wasn't it. Yeah. That wasn't it.
So how long, I'm going to answer the question that I just saw from Miss Charlotte.
Oh.
How long have you been off of drugs?
30 years.
30 years. Amazing.
Yes.
30 years.
Through the grace of God, the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, and the people that God has placed in my life, it has really kept me going.
And that's what I want to ask you about, because like you said, you know it's not easy. Like you just made reference to, I'm not going to say it's full of roses every day, right?
Yes.
But those moments, have you ever just craved for drugs, or have you ever felt so stressed out or so lonely and alone that you entertain that thought for a moment and say life would be, because this is what I know the most, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like life would be okay if I just do this, I can handle it. Have you ever battled back and forth with the flesh and the spirit, who you are now? Like, what can I do? What helped? What made you say, no, I'm sticking to being drug free?
When I play, this is what I always said, and I said in the fellowship 30 years ago. When I play back that CD, it gives me a different outlook.
Okay.
And I can shake it.
Okay.
And I say, okay, I'm going to be all right. Because I remember Pastor preaching. He was preaching one time about the little voices in your head.
Yeah. Now, who is Pastor?
Pastor's Anthony Ivy.
Okay. My dad. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was preaching about the little voices in your head. I'll never forget that sermon. Because that's what was wrong with me when I got clean enough. I was like 23 years. And I could hear, I thought it was God talking about. I didn't know his voice.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, God, but I know God don't tell you nothing to do nothing wrong.
Right.
And I kept hearing these little voices, and they always say in the fellowship, this monkey will jump on your back. That's why we have to be vigilant.
Yeah.
I have to be real watchful for what I do, what I say, the way I treat people, and the things that are presented to me. I have to be real careful. Even though I got 30 years, because people that had 30 and 40 years killed themselves. Because they could not deal with life.
Right.
Yeah, and I learned to show up for life.
Yeah.
And I know how to deal with stuff now. When it comes to me, I have pastors after God's own heart to talk to me.
Yeah.
I have sisters and brothers in that in the family that talks to me. Nicole Bree, that always keep me up.
Wow.
They keep me lifted up. They don't never down me, because see, the devil the one had my head under the ground.
Right.
Now that my head is up, God has placed people in my life to be able to keep me up. But see, they can't do all the work by themselves. I have to do some work.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's just like a prophecy. When they prophesy to you, don't sit there and wait for it. You go ahead on and work on it and get it.
Put some shoes on your faith and walk it out.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
And I love that we can even, we can actually see through your journey that rejection can actually be a blessing. Yes. Being rejected at such a young age, you probably don't even know the word rejection at this point, and you just, getting abused in all kinds of ways and neglected, but it still turns out to be the blessing. What is the blessing? The fact that you are standing here today looking absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Love the hair, by the way.
Thank you.
And I know you did it yourself.
Yes.
Right. So like you fly, you are strong, you are dedicated, you are, a trailblazer for those that are afraid to talk about how deep You know, and this is exactly what Alicia's about, taking the shame out of it.
Yes.
To say, if he can bring me through it, he can definitely do it for you. And we don't have to be embarrassed about the story. So with talking to you, it makes me think of Leah, right? And so most of us already know the story with Leah and Rachel. And Jacob is working, but he wants Rachel. She's the pretty one, right? And Rachel is the one that he said, I will work 7 years just to get this girl, right?
Yes.
She must have been a bad song, right?
Yes.
So Jacob works at the end of the 7 years. You know, he tries to consummate the marriage, and when he wakes up the next morning, he sees that it's not Rachel, that it's Leah, and Leah is the younger sister. So Leah is the one that is described as, you know, with the weak eyes. I reference the scriptures, Genesis chapter 29. And so when he's dealing with Leah, you know, he goes back to her dad and like, you know, I ain't asked for her. I'm in love with Rachel. Like, what's going on? Why you playing me like that, right? And so, you know, the dad comes up with, you know, well, usually when it's time to marry off your daughter, you don't give, you know, the youngest one first. You got to give the oldest. So, you know, here it is. If you want her, you got to work for me a little while longer, right? But Rachel was worth it to Jacob, right? And so what I love about this is just this plug in here is that we're not always the ones that are sought after, right? Because I can definitely testify to that. We're not always the ones that people feel you're worth me doing this. I worship the ground you walk on, and you're so beautiful, and all the things that we felt like mattered when it came to being a woman, right? And so he finally gets Rachel, the one that he really, really wants, but Rachel can't have children at the time. So guess who is the one that's able to produce? It's Leah, right? And so I'm not going to go all into all of the children she had. I think she ended up inevitably having about six of them. 5 boys and a girl, I believe. And so what I got excited about while we're talking about rejection can actually be a blessing is that God always has a plan, right? And so Leah is put in this position where she is desiring love. She's desiring someone to love her back the way she feels about them, and it's not coming back to her. He's not interested. You're not feeling like anybody cares about you. You're feeling like, wow, why did you even allow me to live, because I don't have anybody to go to, and what is going on in my life? Why do I exist, right? And I'll be honest, we've had those moments. Yes. So Leah is like, well, I know if I have this child, he'll love me. Like she's trying to talk to herself. Yes. To tell herself, you know, if I do this, then he'll love me. Like you were saying, whatever you could do to get a hit. Or when you're dealing with men, and it's like, if I do this, he might be interested. Because let's be honest, you were probably looking for love in that too. The fact that you're alone all this time, nobody desires to be by themselves forever.
That's true.
So she's trying to do this with Jacob, and she's like, I'm for sure he gonna love me after this, and he gonna love me after this, but it just never happened. However, Leah's pain and Leah's rejection produced such greatness, right? So Leah was chosen to give birth to Judah, one of the boys. Okay. Judah means praise. Okay. One of my favorite tribes, right? So Leah's chosen to give birth to a praise. Through her rejection, through her disappointment, through her hurt, through her pain, she's chosen to give birth to a praise, and it came from her pain, but it ultimately produced Jesus in her life, right? So like you were saying, even though you were dealing with all of this pain and turmoil in your life, ultimately it led you to Christ. It led you to Jesus, where he is a huge factor in your life, right? So the Savior of the world was born out of the rejection of a woman who was unloved, unappreciated, right? Even so much where Rachel ended up finding herself being jealous. Like, why are you mad at me for being able to give birth, like, that's all I got. He don't want me, he wants you. You know what I mean? And those moments where you're confused of why you have so many people against you, and why you have people, and this is your sister, and why you have people that don't want to be around you and don't like you for absolutely no reason. And you like, what you so mad at me for? I'm not doing anything. Like, I have this. But you got the looks, and you got the money, and you got, everybody is after you, but you're upset with what God has given me. However, it teaches us that even in your rejection, there is always a plan that God has for you. There's always, whether they can see it or not, God is always up to something. There is nothing that he does that it doesn't make sense to us in the moment, right? It's like putting those puzzle pieces together. And you're like, if you were like me, I cheated a little bit, whatever looks similar, and I'm going to put this piece together and I'm going to wedge it if I have to. But it don't go there. You got to be patient. You got to wait until the whole picture comes together. You can't just look at the box and say, okay, I know how to do it now. But you got to take your time and put every little piece together. But you got to allow God to do that work so that you can really hold on to the blessing. See, we desire so much for God to do in our lives where we're saying, God, I want this because she got it. I want this because he got it. I want this because that looks like it's the best thing to have. And God is saying, nah, that ain't quite for you. I need you to do this in particular. And you feeling slighted, not realizing that God is equipping you, and he is ordaining you, and he is cultivating you, and he is making you, and he's providing you with all the tools you need in your tool bag. Have you ever experienced where someone comes to fix something in your house and they go in their tool bag and they don't have the proper tools? Oh, I left my wrench. I left my... You ain't even come prepared, and that's what God is doing for us. I gotta prepare you for that next level. How are you going to be on this platform, and how are you telling people about how great life is without dope if you never experienced it? How are you a valid teacher? You can't come to me and you ain't got no credentials. Pull out the resume. I need to see what you did. I need to see what he brought you through. Or don't talk to me.
That's right.
Because you don't understand what I'm dealing with.
Teach.
But a true walking miracle. And do you realize, in all honesty, because we all have our good days and bad days, like you were saying, but do you realize how amazing you really are? Because I know life ain't giving you it. You ain't even been exposed to the full plan, right?
No.
So God ain't done it. But right now, while you're in your waiting, waiting in two ways though. The wait with WAIT while you're waiting and needing patience, but also the wait and what you have to carry up until he gives you what you desire. Both of those types of wait, while you're in the now, before he reveals everything else to you. How is that process going? I got excited, y'all. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm excited with you.
Yes.
So far, I'm anxious because I want to know what else he's got for me. I know I got a purpose. I know that.
Okay.
And my purpose is to carry the message.
Right.
Of my experience.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to open up the eyes of the ones that's still out there.
Yeah.
But then I get a little, we human, and we get a little, a little shaky. Be like, okay, God, what's going on here? I don't feel like I'm moving.
Right.
I need to move. But see, that's my thing. Is I got to learn not to move so fast. Because in life, that's what I did.
Yeah.
Everything was just easy, so I got it easy. Now I'm not getting it easy.
Right.
So I got to learn to be patient. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm being patient so long. Come on now. There's some more out there. I know you got something else for me.
Yeah.
Come on, show it to me. And like you said, be like, no. Not right now.
Yeah.
You're not ready.
Woo.
And when he say that, it's like, okay, but I thought I was all right.
Right.
You all right where you at now? But where I'm about to take you, I got to make sure that you're ready.
Yeah. You got to be justified,
You got to
qualified.
Yes.
And so he can get the glory out of all of it.
So I try to stay prepared.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing now, is staying prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So when he do, I can say, yeah, okay, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Because I remember, it was like, I think a couple of years ago, I heard, I don't know if it was a sermon, but they were talking about being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, God, how do I be prepared?
Right.
God said, dress up every morning.
Okay.
So when someone call you, you'll be prepared.
Now, what is this preparation for? What are you preparing for?
That's the thing, I don't know.
Okay.
That, to be honest, I really don't know. All I know, whoever called me, I'll be prepared.
So the preparation isn't you talking about a husband. It's not you talking about, doing your trial sermon or whatever. It's just, you need to be in preparation. Like, it's better to stay ready than to get ready.
There you go.
Okay. So, man, so much comes to my mind. And if this hour flew by so fast, but it's, one of the things I wanted to say with dealing with rejection is, the saying that hurt people, right? And so I was listening to Joyce Meyer, and she put a little twist on it for me. Not that hurt people, it's hurting people hurt people, right? So when you're still operating in your hurt, when it's still a big deal to you, and you're still angry about it, while you're hurting, you begin to hurt other people because you're still angry, you're still bitter, you're still bothered by so much. And I was like, okay, so it's not, the hurt is past tense, but while I'm in it, I still choose to hurt other people. And so I do want to let everyone that is viewing right now, or that will watch it later, that change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. And Mr. Tony Robbins said that. He's a life coach. I really love his work. But change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. Right? Deep. It's like, you know what? It's just, it hurts too bad to stay right here. I gotta change. I gotta shift. I gotta move to something else. When you're tired and sick and tired of being tired, and it's like, something else has got to be better than this. And so I appreciate so much that you came up here. I know we probably need like 2 or 3 more sessions with this, because you have so much more to be able to release and help someone. But knowing that God assigned that pain to your life to help those souls that are assigned to you, those little girls that are confused and don't understand, and they needed you to recover. They needed you to stand in the midst of all of the talk about this. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. There has to be a sound. You got to talk about it.
Yes.
Got to talk about it.
True.
So we're going to close, but thank you again so much for gracing this stage, and thank you all for tuning in. Your questions, I hope we answered everything. And if you would like to be a part of this, to Unleash, please inbox or email. All the information should be on the page. We would love to give you the platform to be able to help others. That's what this is all about. We love you. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.